system. And if you don't get that part right, like everybody wants to be able to do what they love and love what they do. But if we don't get certain things right, what ends up happening is we start to burn out, our nervous systems get fried, and it impacts our ability to have relationships with other people, and including, team, and not only that, but our personal lives as well. And the biggest obstacle is making the time, first of all, knowing what the problems are, and then making the time to actually transform it. That's the key.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm just about to hit live here. We are live on Facebook now. So now I'm just sharing this with a few places. I'm a little bit more prepared than I was last time. There's a tool that I want to get installed here before we do the next one here, Nima, called Live Leap, that I think you use already. That'll help me kind of automate some of this stuff. But anyways, regardless, we're making the best of it. We're making it work. And all right, I think we are good to go. So let's just get started then, kind of redo what we just said a little bit there, Nima, because I want to make sure that everybody on the live that sees this on a replay as well will be able to kind of get some context to what we're going to talk about. But first of all, thank you everybody that's here already. We have some people inside of Zoom. We will have some people that are watching live on Facebook as well. Today, what I want to talk about is the whole idea of how, as entrepreneurs, we can manage that burnout mentality that happens as a result of just always being in the hustle, and having this being entrenched inside of us as entrepreneurs, where we are told that you need to go, you just need to keep going, right? And when even if you're working a regular job right now, a lot of times people will be working the 9 to 5 and then they come home, and that's the mentality that's kind of pushed on us is, well, then you kiss the baby, you put the kids to sleep and kiss the baby, and you go back to work from 7 p.m. till 2 in the morning, right? And that's the mentality. And well, I can attest to the fact that, over the last 10 years, I've done that. I've worked the 12 to 16 hours a day, and it's benefited me in a lot of ways. I've definitely put the time in, and you have to put the time in. But there's also balance that's required. And depending on what you want to create, with regards to relationships in your life, with your business partners, whatever it might be, you have to have ways to be able to regulate and manage that and not get overly stressed out or burn out. And I know you'll speak to this as well, Nima, just like you did a moment ago, but one of the things that I've actually chosen to do starting this week was to start taking Mondays off. Number one, so that I can allow my wife to serve one of her highest values, which is to tap into her knowledge and her experience as a digital marketing professional and recruiter and a branding expert and everything that she is. She's brilliant at what she does, but she's at home looking after the kids. So she wants to be able to do that, and I want to be able to support her. So I'm choosing to take a day off. Now, my natural tendency in my mind is to go, well, how in the hell am I going to get done as much in 4 days as I used to in 5? And through the work that I've been doing with you, and I know we'll speak about this, my mindset shifted on that. I feel actually I'm going to be able to be more productive in 4 days than I was in 5 previous. And a lot of it just has to do with the way that I see all the tasks that I need to be doing on a daily basis.
Beautiful. Exactly. You nailed it. I mean, and everything that you do, you're going to be doing through your nervous system. And so as we're talking about burnout's a condition basically where you're working over, everybody's experienced it, you're working, and you're completely unconscious. You're living in a completely unconscious state. Your brain and body, which are connected, become disconnected. You're in your head all the time. You don't have any awareness of your body. Self-care becomes, foregone conclusion. You stop really paying attention to why you're doing what you're doing. It all becomes chasing after this external thing. We become disconnected with who we are as individuals. And this is the technology age. This is the age of comparison. This is the age of ego, pride, and greed. And so this becomes a breeding ground for us as entrepreneurs in the hustle to then all of a sudden have a burnout, like a panic attacks, anxiety, inability to sleep, inability to have healthy relationships with other people. I've lived it. And so what happens is we don't really have a connection to ourselves. And when we don't have a connection to ourselves, then we're completely useless, and we just kind of chase after a dollar sign. We chase after, payroll, and it becomes really freaking stressful. So what I've done is I put together a little bit of if I can share my screen, a little way of us actually. Let me see if I can I share my screen here?
Yeah, it says this started share. I don't see it yet, but it's saying that it's
all right. Let me just see.
While you're sorting that out, I'll say Kelly just mentioned here, Mondays are usually work at home days for me. It's helped so much. No meetings, no client visits, can focus and plan the week. I always look forward to Mondays now. Yeah, Kelly, I'm definitely getting into that mindset as well myself. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. Like, there's parts of me that still has this feeling of like, oh man, how am I possibly going to do this? But it's feedback like that encourages me to realize that it is possible to actually have everything that I feel like I was grinding for, that I was hustling for before, by actually slowing down a little bit, slowing down in order to speed up. It's a funny concept, but it's so real once you actually get into, as we keep referencing as the flow, which is really a tough thing to explain. But of course, Nima's got his cool little iPad thing going here. We're going to talk about. I want to show
you how to avoid that burnout. And this is really about unscrewing your nervous system. I talk about this a lot. This is a very critical part of becoming an entrepreneur, of emotional intelligence. And this is really about uneffing your nervous system.
Okay? You see, anybody who's been on these with us for the last little while, Nima's saying uneffing now because he knows now that we can boost our post afterwards if he doesn't swear.
Right.
So good on you, Nima. Way to go.
Uneffing your nervous system. So here's the key. This is what you got to do. You got to go from a state of unconscious, and this is what most of us are, to conscious. So this is the methodology that I use, that just not only in my own life, but what I basically with the clients that we work with. So at the very foundation of this, in this triangle, is breath, is connecting with the breath. So we also even can talk about breath work. The breath work is the link between your unconscious mind and your conscious mind, your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight. And when you experience a burnout, your sympathetic nervous system has been firing like on all cylinders. Sympathetic is the gas pedal, parasympathetic is the brake. And in order for me to be healthy, in order for you to be healthy, there has to be a balance between the two. So you can't really be gas pedaling the whole time, but the hustle creates that. And that's usually because you're in an unconscious state. Right?
Yeah.
But connecting with your breath right now, as you become connected with it and then become aware, because usually your breath is breathing you, until you become consciously aware, you can then breathe your own breath. You now have control over your nervous system. You can shut down that fight or flight state and bring it back into a balance. But most of the time, the thing that blocks us is because we're so in our heads, we're disconnected from breath. So connecting with breath is really important. And to do breath work classes, like yoga classes, it's becoming way more popular. Look it up around your neighborhood network. It's critical. And now that's what I do in my live trainings, where we do a complete nervous system overhaul. We start with breath work on Friday, and then we end with breath work on Sunday. And that's why we're here. We basically learn how to breathe properly. And because it's so basic and fundamental, and it's so silly, but it's the most important thing. And chances are, if you're watching this and you're an entrepreneur and you're like most people, you haven't breathed properly.
Honest to God, Nima, every time you talk about breath work, I find myself going, oh, geez, I was just holding my breath right there. It's constant. It's constant. It's still a work in progress for me to even be conscious.
Totally. That's why I'm on, is just so that I can remind you about it.
That's why we do these. This is all for me. I'm just
Good
kidding.
for
It's
you.
for everybody
Yeah.
watching, of course, but it is
So
for
the
me too.
next,
That's why I want to do this as well.
so the next part is chiropractic care and exercise. So most of the time, as you're sitting at your desk as an entrepreneur or on your devices, your neck has gone forward. You have this forward kind of crunch, and that's putting a lot of stress on your nervous system, but it's completely unconscious. You don't even know it. Okay. And the pressure builds and the pressure builds. And chiropractic care is a way of releasing the tension off of the nervous system and bringing down that stress response of sympathetic tone down to parasympathetic tone, fight or flight, from fight or flight to relaxed state, simply by removing the pressure off of the nervous system. And a very powerful way of doing that, other than chiropractic care, is exercise is the same thing. People think that chiropractic care is mainly for, it's just for back pain, which is very effective for that, but it's actually important to remove the stress from the nervous system. And that's kind of the second way. And these things are very fundamental ways that you can do it. And then we start to get into things that become more of your design, things that you can really take firm handle on. And this is where we get into the habits. And they've shown that anxiety is prevalent among people like dogs or children that don't have structure. So to set up your day with some rituals that you can count on in the morning, in the evening, and silence, affirmation, meditation, visualization, all of those things, when you carve out time, if you don't get that part right, you're now at the mercy of not only your ego, but everyone else's ego, and everything along on the outside. You're the one that's at the mercy of it. You don't have power. Exactly. So to have a habit share,
there's a tool. Yeah.
To get that tool, Habit Share is an app, and then find an accountability partner and just get started with these habits and rituals. It's critical that you do that. And the ones that we have that I recommend are from the book, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. It's the acronym SAVERS: silence, affirmations, visualizations, exercise, reading, and then scribing, which is journaling. Journaling is a way of going from unconscious to conscious. You basically co-create from the day. The days that I wake up and I do this are completely different than the days that I kind of let that fall by the wayside. It's up to me to create the habits to be able to do that. Does that make sense? What have you noticed in the shares? I mean, if you can share in the chat box, what have been your habits and routines? What have really worked well for you?
Yeah, and just be honest with the feedback there too. Maybe this is new to you. Maybe it's something that you might be doing a little bit, or you're consciously aware of the fact that you maybe should be doing more of it. I'll admit, Habit Share is sitting here. I showed you guys this app right here, and I haven't set it up yet. That's just being honest. And I know I should have weeks ago, because we're doing some work internally in a group that Nima's running right now. So
yeah.
I get to do that. But Randy just asked a question there. Does the exercise need to be aerobic or anything that moves the body? Is there any specifics on the exercise?
Anything that moves your body, but preferably something that you enjoy doing, Randy. You want to do something that you actually enjoy. That's it.
Yeah.
If you enjoy it, you're going to do more of it and put it into your schedule, because if you don't get this right, you're heading for burnout.
Yeah.
And you're forced into self-care.
Walking the dog, that's a great one. That's definitely one on my list, to be able to clear my head and just have an opportunity to get out and move around, for sure.
Definitely. So hold on one second here. Yeah, the next one is attunement. Attunement is an exercise that you do that gets you into a felt sense into your body. And the way that you get out of anxiety is by getting into the body and getting into the sensation. Getting into the feeling what you're feeling, allowing yourself to feel it, letting it in, breathing through it, allowing it in, breathing through it, and not making it wrong. How does your butt feel on the chair that you're sitting in? How does the temperature feel in your skin? Really get connected and attuned with that. Feel that. and feel the felt sense in your body of what's going on. And you are now in a state of attunement. You look around you at your environment, at your office, and as you're scanning, you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. You're actually shutting down your stress response simply by getting into sensation, getting into felt sense, and making this a part of a practice, a habit, a ritual. So it's amazing. Then the next part here is your highest values. A very good understanding of who you are, what you do, and the things that you love doing, to put them into your schedule on a regular basis. I love teaching. So I love doing these Facebook Lives, because teaching is a way of me doing self-care. Because when I share what I know and all of the things that I've learned, it brings me a sense of fulfillment. I feel relevant. I feel important. I feel like I'm serving. I feel like I'm making a difference. And so what's that for you? What is that for you? What is it that you do that you absolutely love? And yeah, what do you do that you absolutely love that you want to put into your schedule? Because the cost of you not doing it is effing up your nervous system. And here's the key, is that you're going from unconscious to conscious. So you're actually applying it consciously to your schedule. And that's where the magic is. So this here is the model of uneffing your nervous system and avoiding burnout. Avoiding burnout is really, it's not something that you want to, it's like being chased by a tiger. That's what the stress response is like. And so we want to do things that actively bring us to a state of ease and balance, because emotional intelligence, self-awareness, self-regulation, social skills, connecting with other human beings, which is critical in running a business and in your personal relationships. You can't do it without a healthy nervous system. So this has got to be priority number one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find in working with a lot of entrepreneurs, I know we have a mentoring program where we, help people grow their solopreneur business. So in all cases, the people that we work with, they're one man or one woman shows. And what I find a lot of times, and Nima, of course, this, when we first started our program, we had a lot of tactics and tools and strategies that we had built. And then we realized that everybody was kind of suffering from the same thing, which is just massive overwhelm. They saw a million to-dos that they knew they probably should be doing, but they didn't know which ones to prioritize. And then therefore they felt, well, if I put more hours in, I'll get further ahead. But then their day would end and they'd feel like they were just spinning their tires all day, right? Nothing was getting fully completed. They weren't really present in the moments. And that kind of comes back to how we started this whole conversation today, which is the idea of being able to work less even and get more done goes against the hustle mentality. It really does, Now, there's nothing wrong with having ambition and being willing to put in more time than the next person beside you. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the drive that makes you an entrepreneur and what you are. But being able to do and practice these exercises that Nima's talking about are so critical, because it just grounds you in the moment. It allows you to see that 30-minute slot that you have available in between meetings, where you'd be busy doing 100 things, where you can just ground into doing one and doing it really well and just keeping on making progress. I had a mastermind call right before this where we were talking about just being in the hamster wheel, right? So, if once I get to this point, once I get my sales process dialed in, once I get my lead flow down, then I'll be off and running, right? And the feedback within the group was like, yeah, then you're off to the next hamster wheel. You just upgraded to a fancier hamster wheel. Then you're up in the super fancy, high level hamster wheel. Like, it's just, it never ends. So what can you do about it? You have to learn how to do all of this stuff and to implement it into your daily life, because without it, you will burn out. You will burn out. And I've burnt out. I have many, many times over the last 12 years. Yeah.
And we want to avoid that from happening with you. So really taking that triangle of uneffing your nervous system is really key. And it's a daily practice. And actually, when you really look at it, it's a moment-to-moment choice. And really self-regulation is what it's all about. And we become unconscious. So are there any questions? taking me breaks throughout the day. Absolutely, Randy. Yeah, thank you for your participation. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Questions? Are there any questions about this? Have you had burnout? What have you done? What have you done for it? I mean, it's kind of like intuitive stuff here that I shared with you guys, but it's really important to embody this.
Nima, really quickly, what is the link to the workshop page again? Intimacy-upgrade?
Yeah, it is drnima.com/intimacy-upgrade.
So
yeah,
I'm going to
and the server's a little slow, so it takes about 15 seconds to load up, but check it out and come and join us for some breath work and badassery in the next couple of weeks in Vancouver.
Oops. Yeah, I definitely want to make sure you guys have that. I'm popping it into Zoom here for, I just said it's all panelists now. Let me get it to everybody else. There we go. Now it's going to everyone. And I just put it on the Facebook live stream there too. So anybody that's, just go check it out. You know, we're not going to talk too much about it here because I know we got to wrap up, but it's really taking a lot of the practices that we're talking about here in a virtual environment and bringing it into a real life environment where you can work on these things. You can be surrounded by other people going through the same things. So on that note, Nima, thanks so much again for this. I never know what you're actually going to bring up with regards to the topics that we're talking about, but it always ends up being something that's very insightful that everybody can walk away with some practical advice, something that they can start doing right away. So if you guys enjoyed this, please share it later on the Facebook Live or on my Facebook page. And until next time, we'll see you guys next week. All right. Have a good rest of the day.
God bless you.